If you're fishing pressured public ponds and you feel like you're fishing in an empty pond, I'm going to tell you right now, you're not fishing empty ponds, you're fishing empty water. And today I'm going to explain exactly why that's happening and how to fix it so you can start catching bass again. Let's just get it done, son. Yes, sir. Here's the biggest mistake I see people making over the 35 years of fishing pressured public ponds. People cast what looks good, not where bass actually are. That's a nice open bank, that clean shoreline, the perfect looking stretch of water. That's empty water, son. That's not getting it done. What looks good for you doesn't mean that it's holding bass, because pressured bass don't sit in obvious spots. Everybody is fishing those obvious spots. I mean, everybody. They sit where they feel safe. The next time you go out to this pressured public ponds, instead of looking at what you think is a good spot, think, where would a pressured bass live? Sit back and watch where everybody fishes. I could tell you, that's not where bass are holding. Just because it looks good to you doesn't mean bass are holding there. All about finding the spots in the pond that bass feel safe. I can't stress that enough. It's not what you want to fish. It's fishing where bass are going to be holding tight to, where they feel the safe. Pressured bass hold tight. I mean, super, super tight. I mean, really, really tight. They're pressured. They're finicky. They're going to go into places that they feel the safest. Cattails, lay down, shaded areas, drop-offs, edges of grass, thick vegetation. Most people will not fish thick vegetation. They avoid it. They want to fish that clean shoreline. They want to fish that clean areas. They want to throw whopper ploppers out. They want to throw those loud lures. They avoid those areas. We need to capitalize on that and fish laydowns, drop-offs, shaded shores. Not 5 feet off of it. In it. We're not fishing these tight spots. We're fishing in it. We're not fishing around it. We're not fishing 5 feet off of it. We're presenting lures in it. If I see a tree that's falling down, I'm pitching a jig in there. They're tight in there. I'm telling you, they're tight in there. Lily pads, cattails. I talk about it all the time about a swim jig. I throw a swim jigging at the cattails. I'll chuck it in there. I'm not fishing the edges. I'm chucking it in there. I'm trying to get as deep into those cattails as I can. They're in there. That's where they are. That's where they feel the safest. Most anglers are casting near bass, not to bass. And that's the difference. You need to put the bait where they live, not where you're comfortable casting. I'm going to repeat that. You need to put the bait where they live, not where you're comfortable casting. You might lose some jigs. I've talked about it in the past. You might lose some lures. There's alternatives to expensive lures. It's okay to lose a lure. You got to cast in there. You got to cast in there, son. That's where the big uns are. They're tucked in there. You can't be afraid to cast in there. That's where they're at. I'll give you an example. When I look at a pond and there's heavy vegetation, that's what I get juiced up about. I get juiced up about heavy vegetation, especially pockets of heavy vegetation or back coves that just look terrible. I mean, just terrible. Nobody's fishing there. I love those spots. I know most anglers aren't going to fish it. There'll be a few, but most anglers are going to avoid it. That's a magnet to me. I'm all in on those areas. I know bass feels safe in there. I know nobody fishes it. I'm all in on those areas. It holds bass. They're tight. When they're really tight into those areas, it's all about casting. I'm casting to them, not near them. I'm using heavier lures. I'm not afraid to fish those areas. You can't be afraid to fish those areas. You can't be afraid to lose some lures. Guarantee you catch a couple big ones in there, you'll be like, no, I got it. I'm going in there all the time. Yes, sir. Bank beating. It's a huge problem. I see it all the time. People just beating the heck out of a bank. They're bank beaters. Walking down the shoreline and just casting. Covering water with no purpose. I talk about it all the time. You got to fish with purpose. You have to fish areas in a pond, especially pressured public ponds, where the bass are. You can't be afraid to fish those areas. Don't be a bank beater. Everybody fishes bank. Everybody. So what do you think bass are going to do? You think bass are going to hold up to a bank when everybody's beating it all day long? That's all they're doing is beating a bank. Do you really think bass are going to be there? No. They will not. They are not there. Bass are going to avoid that area like a plague. They move off of it. They find safer water. Trust me, there is safer water in every single pond. You have to find it. You have to look at the pond. Everybody's casting the bank. The smart bass, They know that. They're conditioned. They're not going to be on the bank. Deep water reality. In pressured ponds, deep is your friend. Deep is your friend in pressured public pond. That's where big bass go. Less pressure exists. They feel safe. It's a safer environment. That's where they'll be. And most anglers, they ignore it. They just want to go down the bank. They ignore deep water. Deep water is your friend. If you're not fishing deep water, you're missing out on great opportunities to catch big bass all day long, son. Yes, sir. Most pressured public ponds at deep water is untouched. When I talk about fishing deep water, biggest mistake I see when people even throw cast out to the middle. They cast and hits the water and they start retrieving. You have to let it get down to the bottom. You have to count your lure down. A 1/2 ounce lure is pretty much a foot. It'll drop a foot per second. Count it down. Now you know how deep it is. Wait till all that slack comes off your spool. Now you know you're on the bottom. Now we're starting to fish. So where the techniques of a free rig, a slow roll of a chatterbait, a swim jig, a jig. That's where all the slow presentation starts to happen. Fishing out deep, letting it hit the bottom. Now that slow presentation, a Ned rig. It's where it all starts to come in. It's where all the success starts to happen. Shade equals high percentage water. Shade is everything in pressured ponds. I'll say this again. Shade is everything in pressured public ponds. It's just not about morning and evening. It cools the water. I've given examples before of a pond that I fish. About 2 o'clock, the sun goes over, and then one side of the bank is shade. There's always bass in that shaded area, more than any other place. Starting at 2 o'clock, 45 minutes after that shade starts hitting, those bass are pushed up against that bank. It's shade. It's cooler water. They'll be tucked in. I mean, they're tucked into that shaded area. We're talking about sun coming over, again, over a set of trees, shade. Could be a big tree, certain part of the day, overhangs. Shade is safety. Bass will always move towards safe water, and shade is safety. Angles change everything. This is one of those things that most anglers don't even think about, is angles. I've been talking a lot about it. I have examples of me going fishing and angles. You can fish one spot and go boom, boom, boom 10 times. You go over and you cast over and you hit a different angle and boom, you start catching them. You're like, just fish that. It's all about angles. It's all about presenting that lure. It's all about presenting your lure in that strike zone. If a bass is positioned this way and I'm bringing my lure across, that bass isn't going to hit it. If I bring my angle and I bring that over, I'm bringing in their strike zone. You have a better opportunity. We don't know where bass are positioned, something we just don't know. But when you go through your progression of cast, it's all about angles. I always talk about it. I go through a progression of cast. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I go through my progression. I go down the bank and I'm going to cast over and I'm going to hit that twice. 1, 2. If that bass is positioned, I might have missed it because I didn't bring it through the strike zone. But when I come back and I change that angle, I'm bringing it through the strike zone. My presentation doesn't change. I'm still slow, but I'm bringing that lure through that strike zone. I'm not overworking an area, but when I move down the bank, I'm going to give a couple casts. 1, 2. Well, I'm coming across 1, 2, 1, 2, over. Now I change. I'm coming across 1, 2, and I work that spot. Then I go down the bank. I'm covering my angles. I'm covering. And I don't know. We don't know where they're positioned. But when you go through the progressions of casts, you're covering your angles. It's not all about where you cast. It's about what you're covering in the water. Don't overwork an area. You're just changing the angle. So if you feel like you're fishing empty ponds, you're not. You're fishing empty water. Start focusing on tight cover, deep water, shade, angles, fish with purpose. Take a look at the pond. See where everybody else is fishing. Most of them are bank beaters. Okay. I'm not even touching that spot. I won't even consider it. Don't fish what looks good to you. Fish where bass are safe, out deep, pockets, heavy vegetation. They are holding tight in those things. Cattails, lily pads, drop-offs. Those are the areas bass are holding tight to. They're finicky. They're pressured. Fish where nobody else fishes. Where do you think bass are going to go when they're pressured? Do you think they're going to stay on the bank while all these bank beaters are just beating the crap out of them every day? All day long? With all their loud lures? Nah. They will find spots and areas in a pond that are the least pressured. They'll feel safe. They're going to find areas where they feel safe. Target those areas. Getting it done all day long, son. Some biggins after biggins. You follow these tips, I promise you'll be catching more bass at these pressure public ponds than ever before. Drop a comment below. What is your biggest struggle in fishing these pressure public ponds? Let's have a conversation. Let's help each other out, and let's get it done together. Special shout out to my members. I greatly appreciate it. If you're not a member to the channel, go check out the link down below. Really helps grow the channel more than anything else. I greatly appreciate it. Special shout out to Captain Caveman. My man always gets it done. Always catching big ones. Another special shout out, Roger Decker. My man, always getting it done. Always catching big ones. Yes, sir. Appreciate you becoming a member. I really do. Thanks, my man. William Martin, thank you for becoming a member. Greatly appreciate it. Always catching big ones. Always gets it done. All day long, son. Yes, sir. Greatly appreciate it. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to hit the subscribe. Don't forget to hit the notification. Go check out the links down below. My name's Greg. I appreciate you watching this episode of Getting It Done Fishing, and I'll catch you next time.